Okay, this is going to be video number 11, and in this one I'm going to explain the difference between organizational LARPing play and troop play. There is a huge difference when it comes down to it. Right now I'm involved in troop play. What this means is you can focus more on the people around you, and it makes the possibilities a little bit more endless because you have nobody to answer to. You can pretty much just go with your imagination. If the players want to do something, you don't necessarily have to tell them no because I have to check with somebody, or no because it doesn't work that way. You're only beholden by the rules of you and your troop. This adds all kinds of flavor. However, it does limit the worldliness and the epicness that is out there because you don't get the interactions with people from other areas. You don't get that interaction that would happen when you're talking to another Cairn if you're playing werewolf, if you're talking to another city, if you're playing vampire, whatever it may be. And as a result, everything kind of closes in a little bit. And if there is going to be any interaction with those other areas, it comes up to the staff to make it happen. Well, after a while, and you get multiple people in certain cities that you're trying to contact or other people are trying to contact, the characters can get a little bit stale, and you don't want to have too many NPCs that you're relying upon. When you do that, they become crutches, and that's not a good thing. Then there's organizational play. I feel I can talk about this because I've been a part of, well, 4 organizations to date, viable organizations. One of which doesn't really exist anymore, one of which has gone through a change recently, another one which is pretty much dying on the vine, and the last one which is still going strong, which is kind of surprising in some ways. Organizational play does open up the world, and it does establish contacts in another area, and that's a good thing. I've always been a proponent of organizational play because the best part about organizations, it's the players. You go to an event game and you encounter players with different point of views, you make connections, you make alliances. I mean, some of the best times in the world come from those kind of games. We went to an event game one time up in Wisconsin. Now, considering we're in Florida, that was a nice little trip. For fairly large people squeezed into a little daewoo for pretty much 18 hours. That wasn't the pleasant part, but getting there, meeting those people and dealing with them was awesome. Now, I mean, there's going to be some bad apples. This was a werewolf game, so I was playing a Galliard, and one of the most fun things out there was when a number of us Galliards just got around the fire and we started role playing. We were telling stories, we were debating politics. There were no challenges. There wasn't, there was no fighting, no bloodshed. Storylines didn't get in our way. This was us just pure role playing, and players are the strong point of organizations, and you're going to make friends and contacts there that you're only going to see once a year, twice a year. Well, and now through Facebook and other social media, you can see them more often, but it's still a very rich environment, and they make some very rich relationships. Now then, there's the bad side, though. One organization we dealt with had policies that they had no justice to them, no fairness. There was nothing you could do. You're a little fish in a big ocean. Another one, it was pretty much clique gaming. There were certain groups that basically formed power blocks, and if you upset them, you were done. And they would make slanderous statements, libelous statements. They would do everything in their power to basically make your life miserable and make you not want to be a part of the org because you're not part of their old boys club. And then there's when you get an loose affiliation of games where there's no checks and balances. You could play by a whole set of rules and degrees of etiquette in your game, and then in other games might not uphold that. And a lot of it comes down to individual players. Like a player who violates policy by bringing a character into multiple organizations, and it has been deemed unplayable, yet he functionally makes it again. And then when it's taken from, he mysteriously shifts points over to another character, so he's coming in with a god-awful powerful character when he should be coming in at a base character. It's not fair to anybody, and it cheapens the game for others. Or when you have players who go to other games simply to roll the game and to make them miserable and do their thing. If you come in to play, you're going to play your character, you're going to try to enhance the storylines, enhance the experience. That's a good thing. It's when you get those problem players that it makes them bitter. It makes it taints the soup. However, that falls on the organization itself. Do they have procedures in place to handle this? Do they have a good investigative procedure, or is it going to be somebody's word against somebody else's? That's one of my biggest problems is when it comes down to tenure. Oh, I've known this guy longer, so if he says that you did this and you cheated, obviously he must have. That's the most bullshit I've ever seen. I'm sorry, it should look at the facts, and if you can't prove anything, you just can't prove anything. The player was slick, but now they know you're watching them, and you put a stop to whatever way they were cheating. It just... I do have a bitter taste in my mouth for some of the organizations out there. Is there an organization out there that's perfect for me? Not at the moment. The three organizations that are still around that I've dealt with all have flaws that don't mesh with me. There's a couple of other organizations out there I've looked at, and they have problems, especially in my region. There's one that we really seriously considered. Strangely enough, it was a bot for LARP, but one that actually promotes role-playing. And unfortunately, it's got some of those problem players involved. And it violates some of our ethics, therefore, and our morals. So we won't become a part of it. Now, we got the Cthulhu organization that's starting up. Well, I think that's going to suit our purposes because there are going to be rules on there. There's going to be people called to account, and there's going to be responsibilities. There's going to be consequences for actions, and nobody's going to skim under the radar and claim chronicle sovereignty. If you're caught cheating, take the punishment. You do the crime, do the time, is what it comes down to. And the Cthulhu organization is going to be ideal for me. It's going to be ideal for a number of people I know, and probably a bunch of people I don't know. Does that mean that the other organizations are bad? No. They can be perfect for just about anybody. Not for us, but maybe for other people. And there's a host of them out there. The Mind's Eye Society, which was formerly the Camarilla Fan Club. One World by Night. Dystopia Rising. The Guru Nation. Nero. Amtgard. The Society for Creative Anachronism. All of those are organizations that are out there currently that do forms of LARP. I'm sure some of those are going to suit everybody's purposes. And that's fine for them. And I'm not saying that any are bad or any are good or whatever, because each person's got to make their own judgment. I have just always found that the players make the org. The storytellers and the administration, usually an org is good despite them, because they will do nothing but bicker and fight and squabble for power. When I was a member of that group, I hated it. I had to shield my players from a lot of the bullshit. And frankly, if you put those people on the spot, you can tell it's all about them. At one point, me and another person said outright, we don't think the storytellers and the people on the board should actually have characters of any kind of power. We actually offer to retire our powerful characters and make base characters to play in other games. And everybody said no. Why? Because it was all about them. They didn't look at the org as a greater construct, something that they were a part of, a cog in the mechanism. No, to them, it wasn't what can you do. Well, what's the old saying? It's not what I can do for my org, it's what can my org do for me. What your org is supposed to do for you is enhance your world, open it up, and actually give more people to gameplay with. It's not supposed to be how can you pull the wool over everybody else's eyes and give yourself the most powerful character. The people who do that, you are the scum of the LARP universe. And I know a few of them who know I'm talking about them, and I hope they see this, because, frankly, I don't care. If you're scum, you're scum, and you know it. People out there who's, whatever your name may be, I'm not going to even name any names, but they know who they are, they know where they are. Unfortunately, too many of them are entirely too close to our region. So, gives you an idea, though. Troupe gaming, it's for a lot of people. It's fun. Organizational gaming can be fun. It just gets very stressful when you start seeing the bullshit. But if you find the right org, by all means, join it. Because in the end, it's all about LARPing and enjoying your experience. And a lot of times that comes down to who's around you. So, that's about it. If you agree, disagree, whatever, feel free to comment, bitch me out, whatever it may be. I don't mind. Because unlike some of the people that I've probably insulted with this, I've got a thick skin. I think everybody's entitled to their opinion. And whether you're right or you're wrong, it's not always for me to decide. Now, if you're talking about me, of course, I'm probably right, because that's just the way it is. And most of the people that I've been talking about, they're freaking flaming morons anyway. And unfortunately, most of them have played Shadow Lords. Well, I think that's a big enough hint of the main person I'm talking about. So, catch you later, guys.